Anna wrapped her coat tightly around herself, trying to calm the fluttering in her chest. Ryan's excitement was contagious, and she couldn't help but smile, imagining the shiny car waiting for her at the dealership. She had never been good with surprises, but this one felt special. She thought tonight would be perfect, a memory to cherish forever. As they drove through the quiet, snow-dusted streets, Ryan kept glancing at her, a mischievous glint in his eyes. "Almost there," he said, tapping the steering wheel. Anna laughed nervously, feeling that familiar mix of anticipation and nervousness that always came with gifts. She could hardly believe he had kept this secret for so long. The dealership lights shone brightly, reflecting on the snow like a promise of happiness. Anna's heart raced as they stepped inside. The smell of new leather and polished metal filled the air, making her mouth dry with excitement. She imagined the keys being handed over, her name on the papers, and the thrill of driving her very own car for the first time. But as they approached the counter, something felt off. The receptionist smiled politely at Ryan and said, "You're here for the Johnson account, right?" Ryan's face froze for a split second before he nodded. Anna tilted her head, confused. "Johnson? I thought this was my surprise." Ryan's lips pressed into a tight line, and Anna felt a cold wave of unease wash over her. "It's fine," he said quickly, forcing a grin. "Just a small mix-up." But Anna noticed the way his eyes darted around, avoiding hers. That tiny hesitation made her stomach twist. Something was wrong. They were led to a car gleaming under the showroom lights. Anna's breath caught as she saw it, but the excitement didn't come. The model, the color, the way it sat perfectly polished, it wasn't what she had imagined. And then the receptionist handed Ryan a set of keys with a proud smile. "All set for Mrs. Johnson," she said. Anna froze. Ryan gave a nervous laugh, avoiding her gaze, and her chest tightened painfully. The realization hit her like ice water, this was not her surprise. Her heart sank as confusion and hurt mingled together. Questions swirled in her mind, each one sharper than the last. Why wasn't the car hers? Why did Ryan look so strange? She forced herself to stay calm, but inside, everything felt like it was breaking apart. The joy she had felt on the drive over evaporated completely. What was meant to be a perfect Christmas moment had shifted, twisting into something she couldn't understand yet. Anna's mind raced. She wanted answers, but fear and heartbreak made it hard to speak. Ryan's hand brushed hers accidentally, but instead of comfort, it felt foreign. Her trust, the warmth she had carried all day, now felt fragile, like it could shatter with the slightest touch. She realized that this night, this so-called surprise, would change everything between them forever. Anna sat in the passenger seat, trying to shake off the uneasy feeling that had settled in her stomach. Ryan kept glancing at her, but every time she asked a simple question about the car, like the model, color, or features, he quickly changed the subject or smiled nervously. His usual confidence was gone, replaced by a tension that made her chest tighten. On the drive back home, Anna tried again. "So, when did you arrange all of this? Did you pick it out yourself?" she asked, hoping for a laugh or some story. Ryan hesitated, tapping his fingers on the steering wheel. "Oh, just, some stuff at the dealership." "Nothing important," he said too quickly. Anna frowned. That wasn't like him. He usually loved talking about surprises, bragging even a little when he did something nice. Her mind started spinning with questions. Why was he acting so strange? Why did he seem nervous when it was supposed to be a happy moment? She couldn't understand it, but something inside her whispered that she needed to pay attention. That evening, when Ryan excused himself to call the dealership to confirm some details, Anna's curiosity got the better of her. She picked up the phone that Ryan had left on the kitchen counter. Hesitant but determined, she dialed the number. A polite receptionist answered, but as the conversation went on, Anna's heart sank. The call wasn't for her at all. The account wasn't under her name, and the details Ryan had given her didn't match anything the dealership had on record. Anna put the phone down slowly, a chill running down her spine. She felt a mix of confusion, fear, and anger. How could Ryan let her get so excited for something that wasn't even real? The thought that this might not just be a small mistake, but something deliberate, made her stomach twist. She tried to talk to him about it, asking gently, "Ryan, why does this not make sense?" The dealership said. He avoided her eyes and muttered something about a mix-up. But Anna noticed his hands shaking slightly and the way he kept looking toward the living room as if trying to escape the conversation. It wasn't just a mix-up. Something was very wrong. Anna felt her trust starting to crack. She had always believed Ryan, always taken him at his word. But tonight, every small lie, every nervous gesture, made her feel like she didn't really know him at all. She wanted to ask more, to demand answers, but fear held her back. What would happen if she pushed too hard? Instead, she decided to watch and wait. She needed to see what was really going on. Every little detail, every reaction Ryan had, mattered. Her excitement for the car was gone, replaced by a careful, cautious alertness. Something had shifted between them, and Anna knew that by the end of the night, she might see a side of Ryan that would change everything she thought she knew about him. The tension in the house was thick, and Anna could feel it pressing down on her. She realized that this Christmas was no longer about presents or surprises. It was about discovering the truth, and she had a growing suspicion that the truth would hurt more than she ever imagined. Anna stepped into the dealership, her heart still heavy with suspicion. She followed Ryan toward a sleek car parked under the showroom lights, expecting at least a small explanation, a moment to ease the tension. But the closer she got, the more her stomach sank. A young woman was there, talking to the salesman with a familiar ease. Anna's eyes widened as the receptionist called out, "This is ready for Ms. Harper." Anna froze. That wasn't her name. Confusion mixed with a cold dread as she turned to Ryan, who was standing stiffly beside her. "Ms. Harper?" Anna repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. Ryan's forced smile faltered. He opened his mouth, but no words came out immediately. His hand twitched slightly, and his eyes avoided hers. For the first time, Anna saw the cracks in his confident mask. The salesman, oblivious to the tension, handed over the papers to Ryan with a proud smile. Anna felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. Her chest tightened, and a lump rose in her throat. She had believed in this surprise, believed that Ryan cared enough to plan something special just for her. Now everything felt like a lie. Anna's mind raced. The woman, the car, Ryan's strange behavior, it all fit together like pieces of a puzzle she didn't want to see. Ryan had been smiling and joking, pretending everything was normal, while hiding a truth that cut her deeper than she could have imagined. Humiliation burned through her, especially with strangers watching the scene unfold. She stepped closer to Ryan, her voice trembling. Why is this not for me?" Ryan avoided her gaze again, his hands tightening at his sides. He muttered something about a mix-up and tried to put on a casual tone, but it didn't work. Anna saw through it. She felt the cold, calculated deception, the deliberate lie that had been hidden behind his cheerful smiles for weeks. Tears welled in her eyes, but she refused to cry openly in front of the strangers. Her hands shook, and her heart pounded as betrayal washed over her in waves. She couldn't believe she had been so blind, trusting him so completely. Every excited thought she had about this night turned to pain. The young woman, unaware of Anna's presence at first, turned and smiled at Ryan, and something in Anna snapped. She felt anger rising beneath the hurt, a determination forming amidst the heartbreak. She had been humiliated, yes, but she would not let this betrayal define her. Anna took a deep breath, steadying herself as the reality hit fully. The man she thought she knew, the marriage she believed was safe, had been built on lies. She felt small and exposed in that shiny dealership, but also sharper, aware of a truth that she could no longer ignore. That moment, standing there beside Ryan and the woman, was when Anna realized her life had changed forever. She had been betrayed in the most personal way, and nothing could undo the shock, the heartbreak, or the humiliation. But deep inside, she knew she would find a way to reclaim herself from the deceit that had shattered her Christmas completely. Anna didn't wait for Ryan to explain. She turned on her heel and walked out of the dealership, ignoring his calls and the confused looks from the staff. The cold air hit her face, but she barely noticed. Her mind was spinning, and every step felt heavy with disbelief and hurt. How could he do this to her? How could the person she trusted most betray her in such a cruel way? She reached her car and sank into the driver's seat, wrapping her arms around herself as if to hold the pieces of her heart together. The leather smelled faintly of the holiday car scent, but even that couldn't bring comfort. She pressed her forehead to the steering wheel, letting the tears flow freely. She cried for the trust that had been broken, for the dreams of a happy Christmas, and for the man she thought she knew. Every memory of Ryan smiling, planning surprises, and whispering sweet words now felt like part of a lie. Anna felt the weight of betrayal crushing her chest. Her marriage, the life she had invested in, the home they shared, it all felt like it had been a carefully constructed illusion. The realization was sharp and painful. She had loved him completely, and in return, he had deceived her. After a few minutes, anger began to creep in alongside the grief. It started as a small flicker, a tiny spark that refused to be extinguished. How dare he? How dare he smile, lie, and carry on as if nothing mattered while shattering her world? The hurt was deep, but the anger gave her a strange sense of power. She could feel it building, turning her tears into resolve. Anna's hands gripped the steering wheel tightly. She felt small and powerless one moment, and yet in the next, she realized that this betrayal didn't have to define her. She had a choice, to crumble under the weight of his lies or to rise above them. The tears blurred her vision, but the anger sharpened her focus. She wouldn't let him have the satisfaction of seeing her broken forever. Her phone buzzed with a message from Ryan, probably trying to explain or beg. She ignored it, staring out at the quiet streets dusted with snow. The world around her felt still, but inside, her mind was racing. She thought about the life she had imagined, the future she had trusted him with, and how all of it had been a lie. Anna took a deep breath, letting the cold air fill her lungs. She cried a little more, then wiped her tears, feeling the mix of heartbreak and determination settle inside her. The pain was raw, but so was the sense of clarity she was beginning to feel. She realized that the night, the betrayal, and the heartbreak were just the beginning. Something inside her had shifted. By the time she started the car, her grief had not disappeared, but the anger had grown stronger. She knew she couldn't stay trapped in the hurt forever. The betrayal had left a mark, but it had also awakened a strength she didn't know she had. Tonight, Christmas had failed her, but it had also lit the first spark of something new, her own power to reclaim herself. Anna didn't rush to confront Ryan the next day. Instead, she watched quietly, paying close attention to his actions and habits. She noticed small things she had overlooked before, how he often took calls in private, how he hid his phone when she walked into the room, and how his stories about work or errands sometimes didn't add up. Each little detail made her suspicion grow stronger. She started looking for proof, carefully and methodically. She checked the bills and bank statements, comparing them to the explanations Ryan had given her. Some charges didn't make sense, payments to places she had never heard of, receipts that contradicted his stories. Her heart pounded, but the anger she felt helped her stay focused. She couldn't allow him to continue hiding the truth. Anna also went through old messages on shared devices, noticing conversations she hadn't seen before. The tone of some messages, the times they were sent, the names that appeared, everything painted a picture of deception she hadn't wanted to believe. The woman at the dealership was not the only secret. Ryan had been dishonest in multiple areas of their life. Each discovery made her feel hurt, yes, but it also made her resolve stronger. She wrote down what she found, keeping records of dates, amounts, and messages. Anna wanted a clear picture before she acted, and she refused to let emotion cloud her judgment. The betrayal wasn't just one moment, it was a pattern. Recognizing that gave her a sense of control. She could no longer trust him blindly, but she could trust herself to act carefully. Anna also started noticing Ryan's behavior around the woman. They exchanged texts, brief calls, and sometimes whispered conversations when she wasn't around. Each piece fit together like a puzzle. The woman was only part of what Ryan had been hiding. He had layers of lies, carefully built over time. Understanding this helped Anna plan her next move. She knew confronting him without evidence would let him manipulate her again. Every observation made her stronger. She felt the flicker of anger she had discovered earlier turning into determination. This wasn't just about punishment, it was about reclaiming her life and exposing the truth. Anna realized she had the power now, armed with proof, to make decisions for herself instead of reacting blindly. Days passed, and Anna's patience grew. She learned his routines, when he was likely to lie, and how to gather evidence without being noticed. Her heartbreak had transformed into a quiet, focused resolve. She understood that this betrayal had been going on for much longer than she had imagined, but that gave her an advantage. She had the full story now, and she could use it wisely. By the end of the week, Anna had enough evidence to act. She knew exactly what she would say and do when the time came. The woman at the dealership, the hidden messages, the false stories, everything was documented. She felt a strange sense of calm mixed with anticipation. Ryan had thought he could manipulate and deceive her, but Anna was no longer the same person. She had a plan, and when the time came, she would ensure the betrayal would not go unanswered. Anna spent the next few days quietly gathering proof. She didn't say a word to Ryan, keeping her actions hidden. She recorded conversations when he tried to explain or excuse himself, capturing every slip of the tongue, every hesitation, and every lie. Each recording made her heart ache, but it also fueled her resolve. She photographed messages and screenshots she had discovered on shared devices. Some were old, some recent, but all of them revealed pieces of the truth Ryan had been hiding. Names, dates, excuses, it all formed a clear pattern of deceit. Anna organized everything carefully, making sure she could refer back to it when she needed. Even small things mattered. She noted the times he went out, the places he claimed to be, and the inconsistencies in his explanations. She kept a journal, writing down details she would never forget, the words, the gestures, and the moments that proved he had been dishonest. Each entry was a reminder of the betrayal, but also a step toward regaining control over her life. Anna also observed how he interacted with the woman from the dealership. She didn't confront them yet, but she recorded evidence of their meetings, the texts he sent, and the calls he tried to hide. It was meticulous work, requiring patience, but Anna felt a sense of power she hadn't felt since discovering the betrayal. She realized that knowledge and proof were her strongest allies. Her pain was still there, raw and heavy, but it had transformed into determination. She would not let Ryan's selfishness dictate her life. She could feel the anger simmering beneath the surface, but it was controlled, focused. She wasn't acting out of revenge yet, she was acting out of the need to protect herself and expose the truth when the time was right. Anna also planned her next steps carefully. She mapped out how she would confront him, how she would show the evidence, and how she would make sure he couldn't deny what he had done. Every detail mattered. She wanted to ensure that nothing he said or did could twist the story or escape the consequences. Even in quiet moments, Anna's mind was active, thinking through scenarios and anticipating his reactions. She was no longer the person who had blindly trusted him, she had become alert, cautious, and strategic. The betrayal had hurt her deeply, but it had also awakened a strength she didn't know she possessed. By the end of the week, Anna had gathered enough proof to confront Ryan with confidence. The recordings, messages, photos, and notes formed a complete picture of his lies and deceit. She felt a strange mixture of sadness, anger, and empowerment. Ryan had tried to control and deceive her, but now the control was hers. She was ready to face him, armed with truth and the determination to hold him accountable for the betrayal he had caused. That evening, Anna waited until the house was quiet. The lights were dim, and the only sound was the faint ticking of the clock. Ryan didn't suspect anything, he thought the tension from the dealership had faded. Anna took a deep breath, steadying herself. She had waited long enough, and now it was time. "Ryan, we need to talk," she said, her voice calm but firm. He looked up, a flicker of nervousness crossing his face, but he tried to mask it with a casual smile. Anna didn't let him off balance. She held up her phone, showing him the recorded conversations, the messages, the screenshots, and the notes she had carefully organized. Ryan's eyes widened slightly, and for the first time, he didn't have an excuse ready. Anna went through each piece of evidence, one by one. She explained the inconsistencies, the hidden meetings, the lies about the car, and the patterns she had noticed over time. Every word cut deeper, and Ryan's smile disappeared completely. He tried to speak, to explain, to claim it wasn't what it looked like, but Anna interrupted calmly. "I've listened, I've documented, and I've seen everything. Don't lie to me, Ryan. I know the truth." Her voice was steady, her eyes fixed on his. The confidence and determination in her tone made the house feel tense, almost like a courtroom. Anna was in charge now, and there was no denying the facts. Ryan's excuses crumbled under the weight of her evidence. He stuttered, faltered, and finally fell silent. Anna could see the fear and guilt in his eyes. The control he once held over her through lies and charm was gone. She didn't raise her voice, didn't yell, but every word she spoke carried the authority of someone who had been betrayed yet refused to be broken. She continued, outlining not just the betrayal with the woman at the dealership, but all the hidden lies, the false stories, and the manipulations she had uncovered. Ryan's attempts to defend himself were weak and unconvincing. The reality was clear: Anna had done her homework, and he could no longer hide behind excuses or deception. Anna felt a mix of emotions, hurt, anger, and an unexpected clarity. She realized that for too long she had allowed trust to be used against her. Now, the power had shifted. The house, once a place of comfort and shared dreams, had transformed into the setting where she reclaimed her voice and demanded honesty. By the time the conversation ended, Ryan sat silently, defeated, unable to argue further. Anna took a deep breath, feeling a sense of relief and control she hadn't felt in weeks. She had faced the betrayal, exposed it fully, and set the terms for what came next. For the first time since the deception began, Anna felt a calm determination settle over her. She had shown Ryan that lies had consequences, and that she was no longer a passive participant in her own life. The confrontation was over, but the impact of it would guide her choices and her strength in the days to come. The next morning, Anna made her first move. She called the dealership and arranged to return the car, explaining calmly that it was no longer needed. The staff were polite but curious, and Anna didn't care what they thought. This wasn't about appearances, it was about taking back control. When she arrived, she handed over the keys and the paperwork. The car, once a symbol of excitement and betrayal, now felt like a tool she could use to start fresh. She sold it quickly, receiving enough money to cover bills and give herself a clean start. The act was simple, but it carried a quiet power. She wasn't letting Ryan's lies hurt her anymore, she was turning them into her own advantage. Meanwhile, Ryan tried to call her, but she ignored the phone. She knew the truth had consequences, and she wasn't afraid to let him face them. She also knew the woman he had been seeing was about to experience the fallout. Anna had documented everything carefully, and the moment the lies unraveled, the fantasy the woman had been living on crumbled. The woman reached out to Ryan, confused and frustrated, and for the first time, she saw the cracks in the life she thought she had found. Anna stayed silent, watching from a distance, letting the truth speak for itself. She didn't need to argue or explain. Ryan's own deception had built a chain reaction he could no longer control. Using the money from the car, Anna began organizing her life. She paid off debts, arranged for practical things she had been putting off, and allowed herself to breathe again. Each step was a reminder that she could survive, and thrive, without depending on someone who had betrayed her. The independence felt freeing, almost like a weight lifting off her shoulders. Anna also realized that taking back the car and handling the situation publicly was more than just revenge. It was a statement: she wouldn't be manipulated, humiliated, or ignored. She had turned what was meant to break her into a source of empowerment. The car, the lies, the betrayal, it no longer had power over her. Ryan, seeing the car gone and knowing Anna had acted without him, began to grasp the consequences of his actions. The life he thought he controlled was unraveling, and he had no one to blame but himself. Anna didn't gloat, but the satisfaction of reclaiming control warmed her. By the end of the day, Anna felt a sense of accomplishment. She had faced the betrayal, acted decisively, and taken steps to protect herself. The Christmas that had started with pain and lies was now a turning point. She had reclaimed what was hers, not just materially, but emotionally and mentally. Anna knew this was only the beginning of rebuilding her life, but for the first time since the betrayal, she felt a spark of hope and strength. The public payback wasn't about hurting anyone, it was about proving to herself that she could rise above the deceit and start again on her own terms. Anna took her time to rebuild her life. She focused on herself first, making small changes that brought a sense of control and peace. Friends and family noticed the difference in her and offered support, admiration, and encouragement. Their words reminded her that she was stronger than she had realized. She signed up for driving lessons, determined to learn at her own pace. Sitting behind the wheel again, she felt a mixture of nervousness and excitement. Each lesson reminded her that she could take control of her life, literally and figuratively. It wasn't just about driving, it was about independence, confidence, and reclaiming the things she had lost. With the money she had saved and earned through careful planning, Anna bought herself a car. This one was truly hers, a reward for her hard work and resilience. When she drove it home for the first time, she felt a sense of accomplishment that went beyond material satisfaction. It was a symbol of her growth, determination, and the life she was creating on her own terms. Anna also focused on her personal goals. She picked up hobbies she had set aside, spent time with people who valued her, and built routines that gave her stability and happiness. Slowly, the weight of the betrayal lifted, replaced by confidence and clarity. She no longer felt defined by what Ryan had done to her. The more she worked on herself, the more she realized how much strength she had gained from the experience. The betrayal had been painful, but it had forced her to see her own value, set boundaries, and trust herself above anyone else. Each day she moved forward, the more she felt empowered. Friends often commented on her resilience, and Anna accepted their praise with quiet pride. She no longer needed validation from someone who had lied to her. Instead, she drew strength from her own efforts and choices. The journey was gradual, but it was steady, and every small step added to the larger transformation she was experiencing. Anna also noticed that her perspective on relationships and trust had changed. She approached people with awareness, valuing honesty and integrity more than before. The betrayal had taught her lessons she could never have learned otherwise, shaping her into a wiser and more cautious person without making her bitter. By the time a few months had passed, Anna felt ready to fully embrace her new life. She drove her car freely, planned her days without fear, and made decisions that were right for her. Betrayal had not destroyed her, it had fueled her growth, teaching her independence, patience, and resilience. Anna finally smiled genuinely, realizing that this chapter of her life was about her, not the lies or the betrayal. She had reclaimed her power, rebuilt her world, and proven to herself that she could rise from heartbreak stronger than ever. The past was behind her, and a new, confident, and independent future awaited. Anna sat in her new car, the engine humming softly, and took a deep breath. She felt a sense of calm she hadn't known in months. The betrayal, the lies, and the heartbreak were behind her, and now she could finally focus on herself. She reached for her phone and began recording a message, not for anyone else, but for herself and anyone who might need to hear it. Sometimes, she said, her voice steady, the gifts we think will make us happy hide the deepest lies. But losing someone who betrays you opens the door to your own strength, independence, and peace. She paused, letting the words sink in. Each one felt like a small victory, a recognition of how far she had come. Anna thought about the months she had spent navigating the pain, gathering evidence, and reclaiming control. Every step had been difficult, but each one had made her stronger. She realized that true revenge wasn't about hurting anyone, it was about taking back what had been stolen, her confidence, her trust, and her sense of self. Looking around the car, feeling the smooth leather under her fingers and the freedom of the road ahead, Anna smiled genuinely for the first time since the betrayal. It wasn't forced or fleeting, it was real, a reflection of the inner peace she had fought to achieve. She had faced the lies, exposed the deception, and created a life that was truly her own. The streets outside were quiet, the world moving on, but Anna felt a sense of clarity and purpose. She no longer carried the weight of anger or confusion. Instead, she held a quiet strength, knowing she could handle whatever came next. The lessons from the betrayal had been hard, but they had taught her resilience, patience, and the value of trusting herself above anyone else. As she drove, she thought about the future. Plans, dreams, and possibilities stretched out before her, unclouded by lies or fear. She could make choices freely, enjoy her accomplishments, and build relationships based on honesty and respect. The freedom felt exhilarating, like a new chapter had just begun, one written entirely by her. Anna's message lingered in her mind: losing someone who betrays you isn't the end, it's a beginning. The pain she had endured had transformed into power, and the setbacks had become stepping stones. She realized that life could be rebuilt, even after trust was shattered, and that true happiness comes from reclaiming your own path. With the winter sun glinting off the windshield, Anna accelerated gently, a smile spreading across her face. The betrayal that had once defined her Christmas now felt like a distant memory. She had reclaimed her life, her independence, and her peace. As she drove off into the open road, she knew that she was stronger, wiser, and ready for whatever lay ahead. The story of pain had ended, and the story of her strength had begun.